Hi, this is a brief rehash of the New Jersey man running for president against Trump. Um, I will quickly go through Washington's farewell address to get back up to where I was cut off. I went over American having a great diversity of ethnic groups, and the problem is how to get unity of diversity, maintain the diversity. Answer was the Bill of Rights should be the state religion. Unity of government is important and it helps protect us from our enemies. Right now, we have a divided government with the Rebs against the Democrats, and I consider the Nazis who got jobs in the CIA having merged with the right wing of the Republican Party to be behind the shadow government, which is against Obama's health care right now. So they're destroying the unity of our government and making the American people suffer. So as far as rooting out these traitors goes, that should be our main objective. The political wisdom of the United States. You could check out a book by James Diefenbach called Rights, Politics, and Economics, which has pretty much the history of American political philosophy in it, based on 2,000 years of political philosophy. Washington warned of beware of party factions as fan the flames of division. I'd say America is pretty much divided every which way but Sunday, and or say twice on Sunday. Um, George Washington said we shouldn't favor or disfavor any nation. Nobody's paying attention to that. We're giving China favored nation status. We're giving Israel $3 billion in cash every January that they're using to build on the West Bank, which they took in the '67 war, during which they bombed the USS Liberty and killed 34 sailors, which was covered up during the Johnson administration while he was in Vietnam fighting communists and sending all the money over there that we needed to fight the war on poverty. By the way, I hear LBJ knew Kennedy was going to be shot. Kennedy was the last guy who tried to inspect Dimona in Israel, where they make nuclear weapons 6 stories underground. There's a YouTube video you can check out. Washington warned against getting involved in foreign entanglements. He also warned against permanent foreign treaties, and NATO was the first permanent foreign treaty, 1949. Now we've got NATO in Libya trying to run the Chinese out of there so we can get the oil, take over the Mediterranean, run the Russians out of Syria, so we can go back to the Holy Roman Empire ruling the Mediterranean like Caesar ruled. Um, and meanwhile, we're not supposed to be an empire. People should listen to Ron Paul about cutting these 700 bases overseas. We should not listen to Ron Paul on cutting the revenues to back up the dollar, which we're desperately needing to back up before it goes to zero and the economy collapses. Also, Washington said we should pay down the debt in peacetime. Ronald Reagan quadrupled the national debt in peacetime. So much for Reagan being a patriotic American. That brings us up to where I got cut off in the last speech. American Political Wisdom 101, GW's farewell address. Washington warned against an overgrown military establishment which, under any form of government, is inauspicious to liberty and which is to be regarded as particularly hostile to Republican or majority liberty. Lincoln warned against the concentration of wealth in the hands of a few corporations, saying that it would destroy the public. I would ask the public to read also what Andrew Jackson thought corporations and how he put us on the gold standard, sold public lands to pay off the national debt. I think he's the only one who ever did that, and he didn't have any education. America's off the tracks of economic prosperity and has lost civilian control of the military. I mentioned this before. What Trump doesn't realize is that 40 international corporations run the world. These don't care about the people of the United States, Russia, or China. They just put their factories in the most suitable geographic locations where they can make the most profit. chasing the cheap labor markets around the globe. I misspoke in the last video saying that Walmart had 4,000 stores in China. They had 4,000 factories in China. They were paying the workers 25, 30 cents an hour, marking up the electronic junk they were making over there 80%, selling it over here until the market fell off the cliff a couple of years ago. We were buying about 80 billion a year from China, more than they were buying from us, so we had a huge balance of trade imbalance deficit, which was killing us, like Trump says. Let's see. People who don't think government works should get out of government. If you don't think government works, then why are you in government? Those who think government should be abolished or anything like that are anarchists, and the other side of the coin of utopianists. You'll never find a perfect government. Since they don't find that any government's perfect, they want to destroy all the governments. They think that'll be perfect. I'm against anarchists. I'm against any kind of an ist. It's making yourself out to be an ice cube instead of flowing like water. Henry David Thoreau said that a standing army is a branch of the standing government. So if you don't like the standing government, then you shouldn't be for a big standing army. But it seems like the people that want to get rid of the government want the army to get all the money, and they want to cut all the social programs. So that's a fascist policy. Ron Paul says only empires need bases overseas, and we're not an empire, so why do we need 700, 800 bases overseas, sucking up the entire IRS revenue per year, which is $1 trillion in tax revenue? Exactly what we were short when Obama came in, because we're spending all of our money overseas, where we're closing down bases here. We built 3 bases in Iraq that house 18,000 troops each, and they will stay there forever to keep Iran out of there, contrary to Trump saying we're going to turn Iraq over to Iran. All of our tax money is going overseas to fight endless wars that we were misled into by enemy spies operating here illegally. We need to, and like I said, that's Israeli Mossad, who are here under deep cover with their top spies working for $30,000 a year, $300 a day spending money. Read Victor Ostrovsky's books, By Way of Deception, The Other Side of Deception. How they're blackmailing congressmen, spying on congressmen, collecting sex scandals, money scandals, drug scandals, coercing and bribing congressmen to support their country. And so we are doing the bidding of their country. We need to cast out the mote in our own eyes in order to see the mote in others' eyes. We need to cut off foreign aid to Israel, Egypt, Syria. We're paying Egypt $1.3 billion a year not to attack Israel. I don't know how much we're paying Syria, but we're paying Israel $3 billion a year to buy military equipment, which they use to build on the West Bank, which Jimmy Carter doesn't want. Obama is trying to stop, and we've given up on that because they want to take the West Bank. They don't want peace. Mossad wants war, unconditional surrender. They actually kill people who try to start peace, including, what's his name, Yasser Arafat. They had internal security kill Yitzhak Rabin. Read Ostrovsky's books on who else they killed. Yuri Marshall in Germany for not cooperating when they're selling weapons to Iran during the Iran-Iraq war. Bring the troops home and give them jobs guarding our borders. Our border's absolute disgrace. You've got spies coming in with fake passports, with time, date, stamp, everything matching perfectly, different colors for different times of days. How do they get these passports, and who's giving them to them? America is a vast political laboratory without equal anywhere else on earth. It took us about 10 years to get out of Vietnam, but we did it. It proves our government works. My mother used to say, can't never did anything. If you think you can't, or if you think you can do something, you're correct. So it's how you think. And basically, individuals and groups of individuals can do almost anything. Every person is an absolute center of initiation, a self-legislator. And you need to believe in yourself and quit believing in fairy tales and pie in the sky. We need to return to the wisdom of the ages to recreate the good things we find in the past, You study history in order to recreate the good things in it, to free yourself from it, to gain control of your own destiny. We've forgotten in the West the ideas that God creates out of nothing and that eternal vigilance is the price of liberty. We need to heed the wise words of Washington and our founding fathers.